Ever since I was old enough, I've been going to see live music, with my favourite shows being festivals. Major music festivals aren't that common in Australia anymore, mostly due to our geographical location and tour costs involved, including expensive flights for all parties, including instruments and production gear, none of which was helped by any of the circumstances since the turn of the decade. I love music festivals because it's my chance to catch many bands I've been wanting to watch live for a long time. Music festivals have also given me a fresh perspective on bands that I haven't really enjoyed listening to on a first pass, but have absolutely sold me when watching and listening in a live setting, giving it their all up on that stage. There's also something to be said for participating in a large crowd that's simply there to share and enjoy a moment in time. Reflecting on the last few music festivals I went to, Good Things, Knotfest and Yours and Ours, it got me thinking about the Australian music scene in general and why it is the way it is today. Stay a while as I dig through the history of Aussie music festivals. The first major music festival to appear in Australia was the Pilgrimage for Pop Festival, which popped up in Ourimbah, located on the central coast of New South Wales in January of 1970. This was a rock festival inspired by Woodstock Festival in America, which had taken place months before. Emil Stonewall Productions and the Nutwood Rug Band were responsible for putting on the show, charging $5 a ticket with approximately 10,000 punters, figuring that the Australian public were ready for a homegrown rock festival with an all-Aussie lineup. Some of the other bands that played at Ourimbah included Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs after permanently moving to Melbourne in 1969. Ourimbah was important for Jeff St. John, who had recently returned to performing live due to unsuccessful operations on his legs in an attempt to fix his spina bifida that ended with him becoming wheelchair-bound. Although the 1972 Sunbury Pop Festival was not the first held in Australia, it benefited from a high level of publicity, and despite lower attendances at the 1975 festival, it consistently attracted large crowds. The festival was located on a private property between Sunbury and Diggers Rest in Victoria. The first Sunbury Pop Festival was hailed to be the rock happening of 1972 and ran from the 29th of January to the 31st of January. The first year's attendance was approximately 35,000 and the entry fee was $6 for 3 days. The 1973 show attracted anywhere between 25,000 and 60,000 people at $8 for 3 days. The 1974 show brought in about 30,000 people at $12 a ticket, with the final festival in 1975 bringing in 16,000 people, which is attributed to the poor weather and rising cost of admission, which was $20. Adjusting for inflation, that would be $150 today. Deep Purple went home with $60,000, which would be $450,000 today. AC/DC didn't end up performing, allegedly due to an incident with the Deep Purple roadies. The 1973 Nimbin Aquarius Festival was a 10-day music, art and cultural gathering of like-minded people who were at the forefront of the counterculture and alternative lifestyles movement in Australia. The festival helped transform the small town of Nimbin and the surrounding region forever. Unlike Sunbury, there was no admission fee and there were no big-name artists. The focus was on creating culture rather than consuming it. Experimental structures were created by architecture students from Sydney, vegetarian banquets were cooked up and shared, and workshops were held to exchange skills and knowledge with one another. The festival didn't advertise through mainstream media and relied on word of mouth for its promotion. Anywhere between 5,000 and 15,000 people attended. Sydney Festival was established by the Sydney Committee, the New South Wales State Government and the City of Sydney with a view to attract people into the city centre during the summer holiday month of January. The festival is best understood as a celebration of Sydney and what the city has to offer. The festival had faced challenges with profitability in its early years due to it mostly being free admission and was subject to a riot at a New Year's Eve concert at Sydney Opera House in 1980. Where 68 people were arrested and 150 were taken to hospital, with the guitarist and Rolf Harris copping flying beer cans to their faces. Upwards of 60,000 people were in attendance. The festival included a performance from INXS. The Sydney Festival is still going strong today. One of the most significant events in the history of Michael Gudinski's Mushroom Records was the Aspiring Mushroom Evolution concert held on the Australia Day long weekend of 1982, which was created to celebrate the label's 10th anniversary. With an attendance of 100,000 people gathered at the Sydney Myer Music Bowl in Melbourne, spanning 2 days, punters were treated to performances from the likes of Chuck Berry, Paul Kelly, John Lennon and Paul McCartney. The cost of admission is unknown, however, a record of the performance was released. The Woodford Folk Festival is an annual music and cultural festival held near the semi-rural town of Woodford, 72 kilometres north of Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. The festival developed from the Malini Folk Festival, which began in Malini in 1987 with 900 attendees initially. Ticket prices are nowhere to be found online. It's now one of the biggest annual cultural events of its type in Australia. Every year, approximately 125,000 patrons attend the festival. Approximately 2,000 performers and 438 events are programmed featuring local, national and international guests. The final evening of the Woodford Festival culminates in a spectacular New Year's Day closing ceremony, the fire event. The event is still going strong today. The Livid festival began in January of 1989 with a ticket price of approximately $25 and a 1,500 strong attendance at the University of Queensland in Brisbane, with TISM headlining, who I was lucky enough to catch a few years back at Good Things. Its growing popularity saw it move to Davies Park in the Brisbane suburb of West End and later the R&A Showgrounds. Until the establishment of the Homebake Festival in 1995, Livid was the only major Australian rock festival apart from the Big Day Out. In 1990, the Livid Festival became the first of the recent touring festivals when it was held at Harold Park Paceway in the Sydney suburb of Glebe. Despite the reasonable success of this move, Livid was now in direct competition with Sydney's Homebake Festival and the nationwide Big Day Out, and, citing a scarcity of headline acts on this year's international festival touring circuit, the event's promoters announced that the show would not be held in 2004, cancelled forever. The Byron Bay Blues Fest, formerly known as the East Coast International Blues and Roots Music Festival, is an annual Australian music festival that has been held over the Easter long weekend in Byron Bay, New South Wales since 1990. The festival features a large selection of blues and roots performers from Australia and around the world and is one of the world's leading contemporary music festivals. The first year of the festival in 1990 attracted 6,000 punters with no ticket prices available online. Bluesfest has grown into one of the biggest music festivals in Australia, attracting over 100,000 fans annually. Unfortunately, Bluesfest will be ending in 2025 as the festival has faced a number of challenges over the years, with the high-profile cancellations of its events in 2020 and 2021 due to the pandemic. The 2023 event went ahead despite controversy, as artists like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards and Sampa the Great withdrew from the festival due to sticky fingers remaining on the bill despite public outcry. Despite promoters finally booting them off later, the damage had already been done. Pushover Festival, running since 1992, was one of the only drug, alcohol and smoke-free major music festivals in Melbourne in the 90s, and one of the few music festivals open to under 18s. The Push, Victoria's statewide non-profit youth music organisation running since 1988, provides young people with accessible and affordable drug, alcohol and smoke-free entertainment and music industry training. The first iteration in 1992 included TISM, Spiderbait and the Hard-Ons. Ticket prices and attendance numbers cannot be found online. The festival was eventually cancelled in 2014 after spanning more than 2 decades due to a decline in ticket sales. Ticket prices were $45, which is reasonably priced considering the prices paid today. The Big Day Out debuted on the 1992 Australia Day public holiday at the Hordern Pavilion in Sydney, with the festival eventually expanding to other major cities in the following year. The Gold Coast and Auckland were added to the schedule in 1994. As of 2003, it featured 7 or 8 stages depending on the venue, accommodating popular contemporary rock music, electronic music, mainstream international acts, and local acts. Auckland was taken out of the tour schedule in 2013, but the festival returned to the city for its last run in 2014. The 1992 show included Nirvana and the Violent Femmes. Tickets were $40 with 9,500 patrons in attendance. The Big Day Out was inevitably cancelled in 2014 after more than 20 years, with poor ticket sales and financial issues cited as key reasons, with no plans for it to return. Festivals were clearly facing major issues in Australia in the 2010s. Falls Festival was a multi-day music festival held annually in Byron Bay in New South Wales and Fremantle in Western Australia over the New Year's Eve and January period. The festival was host to contemporary music performances, dance, comedy, theatre, circus, cabaret and other art forms. Camping was available and all locations had nearby beaches which are either walking distance or a short bus ride away. Artists playing at the festival include rock, hip-hop, indie music, electronic music, blues and roots. The initial festival, held in Lorne, Victoria, drew a crowd of 11,000 with ticket prices at $20. The last instance of this festival was held in 2022, where ticket prices ranged from $189 for a single-day pass to $379 for a 3-day pass. 2023 was cancelled by the organisers to rest. It has not returned. Alternative Nation was a series of music festivals held in 1995. The festival had an excellent lineup, but suffered when both headlining acts, Red Hot Chili Peppers and Stone Temple Pilots, withdrew from the event. Lou Reed was added to the bill in their place, but without the show's main drawcards, ticket sales were slow. Headliners included Faith No More, Nine Inch Nails and Tool amongst others. Along with the bad weather at all 3 shows, Alternative Nation's success was hampered by poor ticket sales and restrictions on alcohol sales at some of the venues, and was never held again. Some of the venues turned into mud pits, with attendees hurling mud at the bands. Attendance and ticket prices cannot be found online. Summersault was Australia's biggest touring music festival in 1995, featuring Beck, Beastie Boys, Bikini Kill, DJ Shadow, Foo Fighters and many more. Approximately 50,000 people attended the festival across all dates combined. The festival ended up being a financial failure with a lack of ticket sales, partially due to competing with the Big Day Out. Ticket prices cannot be found online. The festival did not make a return. Homebake was an annual Australian rock festival featuring an all-Australian lineup with the occasional artist from New Zealand. The festival was held on the 3rd of January 1996 at Belongil Fields in Byron Bay on the far north coast of New South Wales. The 12,000 ticket capacity sold out at $26 for entry. The same year saw a second event held at the grounds of the University of Sydney. 2012 was the last year of the festival, with 2013 cancelled due to poor ticket sales. Another one bites the dust. Held between the year 2000 and 2013 in city parks around Australia, Parklife was known for its diverse, eclectic and groundbreaking lineups, bringing live acts and DJs to Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, Brisbane and Perth. It was the first outdoor dance event to be held in Centennial Park in Sydney. Ticket prices and attendance is unknown for the first event. In 2013, the Parklife Australia Festival was cancelled, with promoters Fuzzy retiring the brand and announcing a new touring event called Listen Out. In 2013, several other music festivals were also cancelled, including Harvest, Movement and Pyramid Rock. Splendour in the Grass was jointly created and promoted by the Village Sounds Agency and Secret Service music companies, and began in 2001 as a one-day gathering to cater for Australia's winter season. Splendour in the Grass showcases popular and established musical artists as well as emerging Australian artists. The music festival has attracted notable artists such as Coldplay, Powderfinger, Arctic Monkeys, Kanye West, Tame Impala and Lorde. The first iteration of the festival sold out at the capacity of 12,500 people, which was headlined by Powderfinger. Ticket prices cannot be found online for that first event. The last iteration of Splendour took place in 2023, with ticket prices at a whopping $450, with VIP tickets priced at $670, with 35,000 people in attendance. 35,000 was far less than the 50,000 capacity. Splendour was cancelled in 2024 due to unexpected events. Splendour was also cancelled in 2025, with organisers stating they need a little more time to recharge and won't be returning in 2025. Who knows if it will come back in 2026. Soundwave was an annual music festival held in major cities around Australia, run and promoted by Soundwave Touring. The festival was originated in Perth, Western Australia in 2004, with Good Charlotte headlining. The festival then spread to other cities from 2007. Soundwave was cancelled in 2016 after its last tour in 2015 due to poor ticket sales, with AJ Matter, the promoter, unable to meet the financial requirements of the bands, venues and other businesses involved in running the festival. Matter's company went into administration with debts of $28 million, with some bands not seeing a cent to this day. The 2004 ticket prices and attendance are unknown, but before the festival imploded, tickets were going for $188 for a weekend pass, with attendance across the tour estimated at 270,000 people. Soundwave was my first ever music festival. I have very fond memories attending with my mates, sister and wife, catching bands including System of a Down, Slipknot, Meshuggah and Lamb of God. The Good Vibrations Festival commenced in 2004 with 18,000 people in attendance and continued until 2011. It was an extremely popular annual Australian touring music festival which hosted both local and international artists, with an emphasis on down-tempo beats, hip-hop, roots, breaks, house and rare groove. The first iteration of the festival cost punters $100 a ticket. Rising costs of putting on a music festival in a highly competitive market saw its downfall. Groovin the Moo was established by Cattle Yard Promotions, with the first festival held in April 2005 in Gloucester, New South Wales, attracting a crowd of 1,400. The festivals were held each year until 2019, with 2020 and 2021 cancelled due to the pandemic. Groovin the Moo returned in 2022 and 2023, but insufficient ticket sales led to the cancellation of the 2024 festival. Ticket prices for the first year are unknown, but the final festival in 2023 was priced between $135 and $260 for a VIP ticket, with 23,000 people in attendance at Maitland. Future Music Festival was an annual music festival featuring Australian and international artists held in major cities around Australia, commencing in 2006. The festival was usually held in late February to early March and has been headlined by notable acts including The Prodigy and The Chemical Brothers. Several weeks after the 2015 edition of the festival, Mushroom Group announced their decision to scrap any future editions of the festival due to low ticket sales, failing to be financially viable. Ticket prices in 2006 were $89, with ticket prices in 2015 sitting at $149. Since 2009, Defqon1 has also been hosted in Sydney in mid-September at the Sydney International Regatta Centre until its Australian demise in 2018. On the 17th of September 2018, the New South Wales Premier announced her intention that Defqon1 would not take place again due to 2 deaths that took place at the 2018 festival, which had an attendance of 30,000 fans. Several hundred people also sought medical assistance after suspected overdoses. Ticket prices and attendance aren't known for 2009, but the ticket price for 2018 was $170 for general and $270 for VIP, with 30,000 people attending as mentioned before. Harvest Festival was an annual music festival held in major cities around Australia. The festival was created in 2011 by Soundwave Touring, the same team behind the heavier Soundwave Festival, as a festival to showcase the bands of lighter genres that didn't fit into the Soundwave lineup. Ticket sales were poor for the Brisbane and Sydney events, with only 18% of the 17,500 ticket capacity for Brisbane, and around 30 to 40% of the 20,000 ticket capacity for Sydney was sold, with an admission price of $150. The 2013 Harvest Music Festival was cancelled in 2013 due to poor ticket sales. It hasn't returned since. The first Yours and Ours Festival was held for the first time in October 2014 at Stuart Park in Wollongong. The lineup included Hockey Dad, June Rats, and Sticky Fingers, amongst others. 2,000 people attended the inaugural one-day event with a ticket price of $37. From 2015 onwards, the festival filled 2 days, and by 2016, crowd numbers had grown to 10,000. It has become Wollongong's biggest annual music event by far. Its 2025 iteration hosted almost 30,000 people, with ticket prices ranging from $150 to $400 depending on 1 or 2 days, and if it was a VIP ticket. The festival is still going strong today, with bigger acts every year, including the Goo Goo Dolls this year. A Unify gathering, commencing in 2015 as a 2-day music and camping festival, the event expanded to 3 days in 2017, with attendance increasing from 3,000 to 7,500 over the span of a few years. In 2019, the festival moved to a new location in Tarwin Meadows. After being forced to cancel the 2021 instalment due to the pandemic, the festival returned in 2022 with an all-Australian lineup. While it didn't take place in 2023, it was instead replaced by a series of mini-festivals across regional Australia titled Unify Off the Record. Tickets in 2015 cost $149 for bands including the Amity Affliction and Northlane. Tickets in 2022 cost $249 for bands including the Amity Affliction and Violent Soho. Ultra Australia is an outdoor electronic music festival that is part of Ultra Music Festival's worldwide expansion, which is now spread to 23 countries. Ultra Australia made its debut as a single-day event under the Road to Ultra banner on the 24th of February 2018 and took place at the Sydney Myer Music Bowl in Melbourne, Australia. 17,000 people attended, with the tickets starting at $135 going all the way up to $280 for a VIP ticket. Ultra has returned to Australia in April of 2025. In early 2018, music tour promoter Destroy All Lines announced the Good Things Festival. It would become the biggest music festival in Australia since Soundwave in 2015. The Good Things Festival debuted in Melbourne before hitting Sydney and Brisbane, headlined by The Offspring playing their 1994 album Smash in its entirety. Ticket prices were $240 and have remained this price until the most recent Good Things in 2024. In 2018, more than 32,000 fans combined attended the festival. I attended Good Things in 2022 and 2024 and had an absolute blast catching bands such as Bring Me the Horizon, Mastodon, and Northlane. Good Things is still doing well today. Wildlands Festival is a multi-city Australian music festival which began in 2019, curated by Untitled Group, known for its immersive experience featuring dance, electronic, hip-hop, and indie music, and taking place in Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide over the New Year period. The first year of the festival brought in 25,000 attendees and charged $129 a ticket. In 2024, tickets increased to $242 or more for VIP at $280, more or less in line with modern festivals like Good Things. Wildlands is still going strong today. Download Festival made its way to Australian shores in 2019, hitting Sydney and Melbourne with some big names including Ozzy Osbourne, with bands playing across 5 stages. Tickets started at $189, going all the way up to $379 for a viewing platform experience. Nearly 30,000 people attended the show at Melbourne. This was the only Download Festival in Australia to date, with 2020 cancelled due to the pandemic. It has not returned since. Knotfest came to Australia in March of 2023, a metal festival curated by Slipknot, featuring a lineup including Slipknot, Parkway Drive, and Megadeth, amongst others, across the major cities on the east coast of Australia, with almost 100,000 fans attending combined across all locations. Tickets have remained at approximately $240 for the last 3 years, in line with Good Things. Knotfest is still going strong today. There are several reasons for the downfall of the Australian Music Festival, most of which in the early 2000s were due to the relatively small population size of Australia and market oversaturation. More recently, it's a money problem. The money side of things comes down to a cost of living crisis impacting Australia as consumers tighten their budget belts, leaving little room to fork out $250 for a festival, and also liability insurance for the venue and festival. On top of this, bands and artists want to be paid, and so they should, with rising travel and arrangement costs including visa arrangements. When comparing the first Australian Music Festival at $5 to what it is today at $240, that's an increase of 4,800%, or 48 times the cost. Wage growth has not increased nearly enough for most people doing it tough. Despite these challenges, we still have a few large open-air festivals to attend, with metalheads like myself coming out in force to support good things in Knotfest each year. It's nothing compared to Europe and the US, but I'll take what I can get. There's nothing quite like attending a music festival. Let me know down below what your favourite music festival is in Australia. Thanks for watching.